Okay, so in this live stream, basically we're going to be building a portfolio website, and I've set a link to the GitHub repository, and the repository is called My Talent Portfolio website. I'm going to leave it in the description as well, and you can as well say !project, which will give you a link to the repository. So obviously the first thing that I want to do is clone this repository. So I'm going to grab this, and then I'm going to open up my terminal, and I'm going to cd into my desktop, and I'm going to say git clone and just paste this link in so that this clones like that. And then I'm going to say code into my talent portfolio website to open up Visual Studio Code like so. And then let me close this. Okay, and oops, did I clone the wrong thing? What's this called? Okay, let me open it up again. cd into desktop, and then my talent portfolio website like so. And there we have it. So this is our workspace. This is what we're going to be working with. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is obviously install my node modules and every other dependency that we're going to have. So I'm going to say npm install, and then as that installs, what I want to do is begin setting up my work folder structure, and I'm going to delete the favicon, the logos, the manifest, and the robot.txt. And then inside my source, I'm going to delete app CSS, app test.js, logo, report web vitals, and setup tests. So just delete all of that, and then go ahead in int.js and remove this because I've deleted it, and then remove this as well. And I might be dropping frames here and there because of my upload speed, but I think it should be okay overall to watch it. And then I'm going to go inside index.css, and I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to remove this and this as well. I don't really think this helps with anything. I've not really had a use case where this has helped me, so I'm just going to remove this. And then in app.js, I need to remove this as well. And then I need to remove all of this, and I'm just going to return a fragment with an h1 that says app.js like so, and then change this into an arrow function. So I'm going to say const app equals to this, which will equal my arrow function like so. Okay, now that all that is done, let me see where we have reached with this. So my node modules has finished installing. So what I want to do is start my dev server. So I'm going to say npm start. Okay, and remember we're going to be installing Tailwind CSS in a moment, so we're going to need to close down our server I just want to make sure that this is running. And remember, if you're cloning this repository and you try to run npm start and it doesn't work, it might give you an error like flat map is not a function. That's because we are running different versions of Node.js. I'm running version 14.16, and you might be running a higher or lower version. So I recommend that you upgrade if you're using a lower version. Okay, so I can see that this is running, but let me just install Tailwind CSS. Let me grab Tailwind CSS from here, and I will need to close down my server. Let me place this to the side. And then I'm going to grab all of this, copy this, and increase the size of this terminal, clear it, paste this inside. And then I'm going to add another dependency called Krakow, like so. Let this run. And then as that runs, I'm going to grab this and change my scripts in my package.json file. My scripts right here. Paste that in and save it. And then I'm going to create this file called Krakow config.js in my root folder. So I'm going to create a new folder here called krakow.config.js like so. And then I'm going to paste this in. Okay, amazing. And then once my previous command has finished running. I'm going to run this so that it will create a config file for me for Tailwind CSS. So I'm just going to wait for this to finish running. Okay, and then I'm just going to say npx tailwind css init, which should create a configuration file for me for Tailwind CSS, like so. And then I'm just going to grab this and paste it inside here, like so. Correct. Okay, now that that is done, we need to just import this into our index CSS file. And I'm going to go inside my index CSS, and at the top right there, at the top, I'm just going to paste that in, and that's looking amazing. So I can close that down, and I can close this repository down, and I can close this down as well. Don't save this, and I can close this down as well. Okay, fantastic. Now that we have Tailwind CSS installed, let me see. Let me grab a Google font. Wait, what do I have copied? Okay, let me grab a Google font that we're going to use for our headings, and another one that we're going to use for our paragraphs and everything else. So I'm going to head over to fonts.google.com, and I'm going to say fonts.google.com. Okay, and I'm going to search for a font called Frances, like that. And I'm going to grab the 700 font. Where is it? 700 font. Okay, and then I'm going to search for another font called Catamaran, and this is the font that we're going to use for our text. So I'm going to grab the regular 400, just grab the link tag, copy this, and then inside my index HTML in my public folder, I'm just going to paste it where, just right there, paste this in, and let me remove these comments. We don't have a manifest JSON file because we deleted it, so I'm just going to remove it. And then I'm going to remove this comment as well, and then change this title to My Talent Portfolio Website, and there we go. So that should be okay. That should be okay. I might change this description along the way and this meta theme color, but it's not really a priority right now. So I'm going to close up the index HTML, and let me just confirm that I do have UID installed. Okay, right there. And I have my dev dependencies installed. Okay, correct. That's looking nice. So let's see. There's something that I wanted to add in my extents here, and it's called screens. And wait a minute, wait, how do you add this? Is it screens, and then we say 3XL, and I'm going to say 3XL is 1920 pixels. I think that's how you add an extra configuration. I hope that's how you do it. We're going to find out in a moment anyway, but I'm just going to leave this in for now. And I'm not going to add any colors, any default colors. I just want to have an extra screen here. And in fact, you know what, let me add another one called extra small. And for extra small, I'm going to say this will be, let's say 400 pixels probably. I'm going to comment this out for now, or rather let me just leave it in so that I can test it along the way. Okay, so now that that is all working, let me clear this terminal, and I'm going to say npm start to start my dev server all over again, and we should be okay to begin working on our portfolio website. Now the design for this is coming from mytalent.jpg. Once you close this repository, you will have this in your assets folder. So this is going to be our motivation. We just have a simple navbar. We have, probably this is a logo. I'm not quite sure. The image isn't all that clear. But then we have the logo in the middle. Then we have some kind of search here, or a call to action button. And then we have a search icon on the right. And I've just remembered that I should probably install React icons to handle this. So let me install React icons. I'm going to open up an extra terminal here, and I'm going to say npm install --save and say react-icons. We're going to need to create a components folder so that we can handle all of this. And right away, as you can notice, we are going to be building this probably mobile first. I'm going to be thinking of a mobile design because we don't have access to the mobile design for this website. So I'm going to just be winging it as I go, as they say. So inside my source folder, I'm going to create a new folder called components. And inside my components folder, I'm going to create a header.js like so. and inside header.js I'm going to say RAFCE, like that, which will generate a React arrow function component and export it as default. And this is coming from an extension called ES7 React Redux GraphQL and React Native Snippets. So this extension right there. Okay, and just that I might continue plowing through, I'm just going to return a header element inside here, and inside this header I'm going to say return a div with a class of logo, and inside this div with the class of logo I'm going to return an h2 called my talent, like so. And then below this div with the class of logo I'm going to have a navbar with ULs and let's say 2 LIs, like so. And this first LI, let me just confirm that React Icons has finished installing, and it has. So inside here, I want to render a search icon first of all. And actually, I might render an input here, but I don't want to do that. So let me just say home. And then inside here, I'm going to say render FA search, which should be coming from React Icons /FA. So I'm going to say import FA search, like so, from React-icons/FA. And there we go. So let me save this, and then let me render this component in my app.js. So I'm going to go into app.js, and right at the top, I'm going to say import header from, it's coming from ./component/header, like that. And then instead of returning this h1, I just want to return my header component, like so. And let me close this file. Let me close the index.css, this Krakow config, and the Tailwind config as well, and the index.js. We don't need all of that open. And let's see. So we have our logo appearing there. We have a home and we have our search icon. Okay, so inside header.js, let me just continue styling this a bit further, and I'm going to say in my header, I'm going to give this a class name of flex and items-center and justify-between, which will take it to the end. And then I'm going to say padding on the x to be 5 and the padding on the y to be 3. And let me place this to a smaller screen so that we can style it side by side, like so. Okay, fantastic. And then I'm going to go inside this UL and give this a class name of flex, like so. And then items-center. This should be inside the quotes, so items-center, like that. And then I'm going to go inside this UL and going to give this a class name of margin on the X of 2. And there we go. So that we have this working correctly. Now for this, for the home button right here, what I want to do is I want it to automatically go back to the top, right? Which means probably I should give, when I create the showcase component, I'm going to give it a class of home, so that inside this, I'm going to give this an ID of home. And probably I should have made this an href actually. What am I doing? I'm going to say, oops, make an href here and say this one should go back to home. And then the text inside here should be home, so that I can remove this from here, like that. Okay. So that now this is now an href that goes back to home. So let me create my showcase component. Let me close this. Another component inside here called showcase.js. And inside this showcase, I'm going to say RAFCE, and then return a fragment once again, and then return a section inside here. And this section is going to have an ID of home, right? And just so that to see whether this works, I'm going to give it a class name of hScreen, which is 100 viewport heights. Okay. And then inside here, I'm just going to return a paragraph that says lorem 100, so 100 dummy words, to see whether this is working. And then I need to render it. So right below here, I'm going to say showcase, and you can see it gives me the option to auto import it. So that's really nice. So that we have this. Okay, and one thing that I've just remembered is I want this header to scroll with me. So I need to go back into header and make this into a fixed header with width of full, so that it scrolls with me. Okay, fantastic. And just to see whether this is working correctly, let me just duplicate all of this, or rather, let me just say lorem 500. Okay, so the header does scroll, and let me see whether this will scroll back to the top, and it does indeed. Okay, so that is working correctly. But let me go inside my index CSS, and right at the top of the index CSS, let me add my alt selector here, my asterisk, so that I can say scroll behavior and set this to smooth so that it scrolls smoothly back to the top. Okay, just reload that to make sure that it has indeed applied the styles correctly. Come on. Okay, so let's see. And there we go. So that's working correctly. So let me just remove all of this dummy text. Let me just remove this, all of that. Okay. So, and also let me remove this class name. So let me see how this design looks. Let me just see how this looks. Inside my public folder, I have this image. So I'm going to add a div inside here, probably the name of the person and an image. And then I'm going to add an h1. Okay, how would that work? Let's see. Inside here, let me add a div. And this div is going to have an image tag, and I need to import an image here. So let me say import profile from, and I need to copy this assets folder. Actually, not all the assets folder really. Let me just grab this one. So oops, not cut, but copy this, and then inside my source folder, I'm going to create another folder called assets, and I'm just going to paste that image inside so that we have this, so that I can go into my my showcase and I can import this image, and I'm going to import it from, it's coming from .assets, and it's called grid-1.jpg. Therefore, the source for this is going to be coming from profile like that, and let's save that, and we should have this on the screen. Isn't it looking amazing? It is indeed. So the next thing that I need to do is right beside this image, there should be some kind of text. Let me see. Where's my assets folder, and then my talent. Make sure that this saves to the top. So there's a name and probably a description right there, and then the image. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to say right above this div, I'm going to create another div, and inside this div, I'm going to say actually, no, instead of creating so many divs, because this is going to be quite annoying, I'm just going to say inside here, let me render an h4 that says TsbSankara, my name, and then inside here, let me say lorem3, not 30 but 3, like so. Okay, so that let me see how this would render on the screen, and it would look like that. So that then I can go inside my main section here and say flex, display flex, like so. And then I'm going to say items-center. Okay, and then I want to say margin top of probably 10, pushed away from my header. Oops, my header is positioned as, wait. My header is positioned as fixed, right? Which should mean that, let me see, does Tailwind have a class of sticky? Does Tailwind have a class of sticky? I'm not quite sure. Let's Google this. Let's see nutcave.com, and let's see if Tailwind does have a class of sticky. Let's see, position sticky. Okay, it does. Okay, so this should be fine for now. I'm just going to leave it at that currently because I don't want to deal with so much customization. But then what I want to do, let's see, what do I want to do? I want this to be inside a div, like so, so that I can go inside this div and give this a class name of, wait a minute. Let me reduce the size of this image. It's throwing me off a bit. So let me give this a class name of width 10 and rounded dash full. Okay. And then I'm going to say items dash center and justify dash center, like so. And then inside this h4, give this a class name of font dash bold. And I've just remembered, did I import my fonts? I think I did. Right there. So I need to define these fonts in my index CSS. I'm going to go into the body, remove this font family, and I'm just going to say catamaran, like that, with a fallback of sans serif on the body. And then for my heading, so h1, h2, h3, h4s, h5s, and h6, I'm just going to say set this font family to Frances or Francis, I don't know how to pronounce that word, and just say sans serif like so. And this will update in a moment. I'm not going to reload it. Okay, so that now what would happen is I'm going to go inside this paragraph, give this a class name of, and there we go, it has updated the font. So for this paragraph, I'm going to give this a class of text-gray-500, make it just a bit lighter, and then let's say text-extra small, or let's say small. Okay, and then inside this div, I'm going to give this div a class name of margin right of 1, just so that it pushes away from the image just a bit, so that we would now have this. And then once we have this, then I can have this big h1 below it. So how do we do this? It would mean that because I would need to display this and this as a grid, right, on bigger screens, which would mean that this would have to be one element and then this another element. Therefore, all of this would have to be inside a div of its own, like so. And then below this div, I'm going to have another div with an h1 that says control your own level of motivation. Control your own level of motivation, like so. And then below this, I'm going to have a paragraph that says probably lorem 50 should be enough. Lorem 50, like so. Okay, and remember that this is currently a flexbox, which I don't want, so I need to say flex column here, and it should go into column form like so. Something does break, and it wait. Move this up. Oops. How did I structure this? This is a flex. This section is flexbox. Okay, I did something wrong. I need this to come out from here. Oops. I need this to come out from here. Actually, wait a minute. Let me remove this. Let me remove this class. Let's save this. Let's see how this looks, and I will say flex. It will still pose a problem, so let me move this down, and then let me move this flex from here and then place it here. So class name of flex. Okay, and then items dash center, and then justify dash center, like that. There we go. Okay, so that's looking nice. So that I can go inside, let me go first inside this div so that I can add some margin on the top and bottom, rather some padding on the top and bottom. So let's say padding y of 10, like so. And then I'm going to go inside this second div, give this a class name of let's say padding on the x of 5, pushed away from the margins of the browser. And then let's say text dash center. Oops, actually it's not text center, this is text left, but this is on bigger screens and we're creating on mobile design. So let me just say text dash center, like that. And then inside the h1, I'm going to say class name of text dash for XL, make it even bigger. Okay, and then let me say text dash gray dash 900, make it a very dark blue, or rather navy blue. And then right before I do that, let me say margin bottom of 2, pushed away from the paragraph just a bit, so that we have this, and it's looking amazing. But then probably we can do something more to this, where we can add a kind of typewriter effect, right? Okay, so once I have this is going to be my description for each of this. And there's a tag inside here. There's a small tag for this. So let me see, what can I say for that? I can say something like below this h1, let me have a paragraph. that says author and say TsbSankara, like that, so that we will have this. Give this a class name of font dash bold. Actually, will that work? Okay, yeah, it works. Okay, fantastic. So it works, font bold works here, but then let me add some margin on the top of 2 and margin on the bottom of 4, and we would have this. So that's looking nice. That's looking nice. And probably I don't want text center on this paragraph, but no, it's looking fine. It's looking fine. So let's go to the next section, which is probably I'm going to combine this image to be inside the very section of the showcase, right inside this div. Sorry, not inside this div, but right below, before I close my section, I want to have another div with a class of showcase dash image, and this showcase image is going to be coming from, let me see, what did I have? This is showcase image, right? I just took a picture of clouds and I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go inside my assets folder, inside my source, and just paste this in so that we can now access this from within our showcase. And I'm going to import it at the top, and I'm just going to say import showcase image from, it's coming from /assets, and it's called showcase.jpg, like that. And then right at the bottom, I want to add an image tag here, and the source for this is going to be showcase image, which I've just imported. And if I save this, then it should appear, can't resolve showcase JPEG. Is it named differently? Oh, it's a JPG, not JPEG. Okay, so that we have this at the bottom. Okay, that's looking nice. And I've just noticed that probably I want a light blue background color on the body. So let me do that by going inside my index CSS, and I'm going to say apply. And remember, this art apply does not come with CSS. It's something that comes with Tailwind when you install Tailwind. So I'm going to say art apply bg dash blue dash 100. That should be fine. Okay, and then I'm going to close that down. And right at the bottom right here, let's see how this would look. I'm going to go inside this class, and I'm going to say margin on the top of 10. Push it away from each of this. Why isn't it saving? Okay, there we go. So we have a blue background color, as you can see, a very light blue, 100. And then inside the section, I'm going to add a padding on the bottom of the section so that we have some bit of space right there. So I'm going to go back to the top, and I'm going to give this a class name of padding bottom of 20. Push it downwards even more, so that's looking nice. Okay, so once I've done that on the padding bottom 20, what I want to do next is create this awesome looking section where we're going to have some kind of quote with another profile image, and I'm just going to duplicate what I have at the top because I don't want to keep on doing the same thing over and over again. There's a package called React Typing Effect, so let me see if I can find it. React Typing Effect. So let me say this is the package that we're going to use, and let's see what we can have. The package is, this is how you install it. So let me just copy this, and inside my VS Code, let me place this full screen. I'm just going to add another terminal and just paste this in, and I'm going to install it. And once that installs, I'm just going to grab all of this because this is basically how we're going to do it. And let me see, I need to grab, I don't really need this, and I don't need this, so I need to grab it from here all the way. Where does this close? It closes here. So I'm going to grab this, copy this, and inside my showcase, so inside my showcase, this is becoming a really huge component. I should probably destructure it. It works. So let me just paste it inside here first of all so that I can see how this works. And we don't need this. We do not need this. Actually, we don't need this span, do we? Where does this span end? We don't need this. Or at least I think we don't need it. And then let me remove what? Wait a minute. This is confusing me. It's confusing me just a bit. So what I want is I want to keep on changing this word from motivation to inspiration, determination, things like that, you know. So let me change this and say inspiration, and change this to say determination, and full stop at the end. And then let me add another one called what other word can I use? Inspiration, motivation. Actually, motivation is already there, and I should have started with motivation, but it's okay. So motivation. Let's work with these three first of all. And let me save this so that this might break just a bit. Let me see. This might break React typing code. I've not imported it. So I need to import it, and I'm going to import it right here. And I'm going to say import React typing effect from React typing effect, just like that. And we should see where does it render. Reload this. Where does it render? Where is okay, here it is. So this is where it renders, right? Okay. So what I want to do is I want this to render here instead. Therefore, that would mean that I should grab this entire component, grab this, and then let me see if I can display it inside here. Nothing breaks, I hope so. And it should be right there. And would you look at that? It's looking nice, looking very nice. But then I don't want this color here, so let me delete this span. Let me delete this entire return. And actually, you know what? Wait a minute. What happens if I disable all of this? What happens? Oops. Then let me remove, this is the style. Where does this style end? It ends here. Let me remove this style like that, so that now we would have text in black. Correct. There we go. Looking amazing. Looking amazing. I want to change the text at the rate at which this text is written and deleted. And I think this component takes in a prop, but I've forgotten the name of the prop. Let me see. Let me open up this tab. What is the prop name? It should be speed. This is the speed at which it is typed. Let's say erase speed is 500 by default, and typing delay is 2500 milliseconds. So right inside this component, let me add another prop inside here, and I'm going to say typing delay, and set this to, let's say 1500 probably. This is in milliseconds. And I'm going to say erase speed, and I'm going to say erase speed, set this to 50 milliseconds. And let's see how this looks. Reload this so that we can work on a blank canvas. Let's see. So it's being written at a shorter speed and deleted. Come on. There you go. Okay, so it's working. So this is working correctly and it's looking very nice. And now we can continue to work on our other, what's it called? On our other sections. Now, I was working on the showcase, but then I've just realized that on bigger screens, this image doesn't really scale up all that well. So what I want to do is I'm going to go inside the image, inside here, and I'm going to give this a class name of, let's say, for medium screens. Actually, let me see where this image starts to misbehave. Let's see, it's about large screens. Okay. So I'm going to say that for large screens, then I want the width to be full. And then for large screens, I want the height to be, let's say 2/3. Does 2/3 work? Too big. Too big. Let's say height 96. 96 should be fine. 96 should be fine. Yeah, I don't really like the way this image scales. Let's say a third. Nope. Let's say a third is smaller than half. Let's say a quarter. No, let's just leave it at 96. Can't give us an aneurysm because of this image. Okay, so that once we do this, Then I want to go back and check the next section that we're going to create, which is basically this. So this section below the image, and I'm going to call it about. So below the image, I'm going to create another component inside my source folder. Let me make this just a bit bigger. So inside my source folder, inside my components folder, I'm going to create a new component called about.js. And in about.js, I'm going to say RAFCE, and I'm going to make this into a fragment. And for this fragment, let me see, what should I include? This is probably one grid, and then this is another grid. So let me return a section inside my about. Let me close this showcase and the header. Okay. So inside here, let me turn a section first of all. And this section is going to have a div, and this div is going to have this very same component. And I just realized that probably I should have made it into a component because I'm reusing it, but that's okay. I can just copy it from my showcase, and it is this right here. So I'm going to grab this, copy this, and just paste it inside here so that we would have it doesn't render because I need to import it into my app.js. So render about like so, so that we have profile is not defined. Come on, seriously, in about.js, right? Okay, so let me copy this import, and just import it in my about file like that, and we should have this working. But then again, remember that we have some padding on the bottom. We have padding bottom of this, and then we have padding top on this. So let me just move the padding top of this, move the padding top right there, that it just moves upward just a bit. And probably I can reduce the padding. No, this looks fine actually. This looks fine. So what I should do next is, this is one component. Let me create another component inside here, and this component is going to be a quote by someone. This looks more like a quote to me. Remember, I'm working with a very blurry image. I'm just making my way through as we progress. So how do we do this? Let me think of a quote. Let me see. A quote, should I probably put it in quotes? And I'm going to say, whatever a man can imagine. Is that the quote? He can invent. Is it? Is that the quote? I can't even remember. But anyway, we're just working with what we have inside here. So whatever a man can imagine, he can invent. Now, what I want to do is, I want this to be some kind of wavy font, right? So that it appears like a quote. So let me go back into fonts.google.com, and let me get some, let me get a curvy font. Let's look for a curvy font. Let's see. There's a font called, is it Parisian? Oh, let me see, Paris. Okay, yeah, we can work with this. This looks fine. So let's just work with this, grab this, and inside my index.html, let me paste it below this. Oops, I don't want this backslash. Paste it inside here, and then inside my index CSS, I'm going to target my Q element. Remember, I've placed a Q element inside my this div. This is a Q element for which shows quotes, and I'm going to say for this, I want the font family to be Paris. Actually, what's it called? Parisian. Okay, Paris. Cn. Does that mean it comes from Paris? And the fallback should be cursive, like so. Actually, it is. Okay. And then let me save this, and let's reload this. Let's see how this would look once this reloads. And you can see right at the bottom, we have this working correctly. Okay, so now what we need to do is just make this quote a bit bigger. So let me go back into about.js, and I'm going to make this quote a bit bigger. I'm going to give this a class name of text-4xl, and then text-center, like so. And then inside this div, I'm going to give this div a class name of padding on the x of 5, like so. And then wait, this doesn't respond to text center, so that would mean that I make this a block element. like so, so that it goes to the text center. Okay, so that's looking nice. And then let me add a margin top of 5 pushed away from this component that we have right there. And then at the bottom, let's see, what can we have at the bottom? Let's see what we have in our design. We have some kind of text inside here. So 1, 2, 3 paragraphs. So inside below this div, I'm going to return, actually, wait. How is this structured? This is 1 div. This is 2 div. And then on bigger screens, I want this and this. Okay, it's correct. I can use grid to display it on bigger screens. So that I'm going to say inside here, I'm going to return a div and I'm going to return 3 paragraphs. So p times 3, like so. And this first paragraph is going to say lorem 50. The second one is going to say lorem 20. This is just dummy text. And then the third one is going to say lorem 30, like that. And let's see what we have. So we have all of this. And then inside this div, let me give this a class name of grid, and a grid columns -1, and a grid gap of, let's say, 5, so that it separates out from one another, like so. And then have actually, I've just noticed something. I said padding on the x of 5 here. I can remove this from here and just place it on the parent element on the section. So give this a class name of padding x of 5, like so. Look at that, looking very nice. And then let me add some margin between this and this first div. So let's see, where's this first div? Right here. And I'm going to say margin top of 5. Okay, that's looking almost correct. And then let's say text center, so that it now centers everything, looking amazing. And then let me add some padding on the bottom of this so that we have a little more leeway on the section. So I'm going to say padding bottom of 10. So that we have that looking amazing. And let's see, what do we have to deal with next? It's just this section. Okay, and for this section, I am going to import some images, which I'm going to use for as this grid. Okay, so inside my about.js, actually we're done with about.js, right? But probably I can scale it up. Probably I can scale it up just a bit. Just a bit. Let's see how this looks. Let's see how this looks. Okay, so let me go back inside my file right there, and I'm going to say this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3, right? And I'm going to say that for medium screens, then I want this to be grid, and then for medium I want the grid columns to be 1, right? Let's see how this looks first of all. Is this not medium? Actually not 1, sorry, but 3. Not 1 but 3. And we have this. Okay, let's see. Instead of having this, let me reduce this to 2 first of all. Reduce this to 2, so that we're going to have this. And then I'm going to say for medium, I'm going to say items-center, so that this would move down. That's not it. Okay, you know what? Instead of using grid here, let me use a flex. So I'm going to say md flex, and then md actually flex should be fine, so that we're going to have this. Oops. No. Let's just use grid, and then md I'm going to say grid dash columns dash 2, and then md I'm going to say gap of dash 5, so that we have this. Okay. And then let's go to large screens, and I'm going to say grid dash columns dash 3. This isn't, why is this to the center? Is it because of item center on it? Does it have item center? Is it because of this? I think that should fix it, but then it messes up with our image because it's also justified to the center. No. With 10, let's say height dash 10 as well. There we go. And actually, let me say that this should be on large screens only. This should be a full colon. What am I doing? This should be a full colon, like so that it's only on large screens, so that we have this. And then on smaller screens, we are going to have this. Oops, still messes up just a bit. Let's say on medium screens, so that it scales up. And let's see if we scale it down, what happens? When we scale it down, this happens, which means that I want it to text center on small screens and then increase it on bigger screens. Therefore, that would mean I would have to go back inside here and say items-center and justify-center, and then say for medium screens I want items-start. Is that a class? And then for medium screens I want justify to start. Let's see how that would look. Let's see. Okay, and it behaves correctly. It behaves correctly. So that's looking nice. That's looking nice. Now what we need to do is just limit this up a bit on big screens. So I'm going to go inside this section and I'm going to say that for large screens, I want the max width to be, let's say, actually, what's the class for this? Let me go back to NatCave. What's the class for this max width? No. Max width large, 32 rems. Let's say 7XL. Let's see how 7XL will look. 7XL. So that we have this, okay. And then I'm going to say that for large screens, then let's say MX Auto, so that everything goes back to the center, like that. And then I want text left on this. So right inside here, I'm going to say that for medium screens, I want text to go back to the left, so that we have this looking nice, And then probably this should still be justified to the center, so that it goes back here. Let me see. Instead of having justify start, let me move this from here. Let's see. This should go back right there, and then I can say margin for medium screens. I can say margin top of 10. Move it downwards. Oops, not 10. Let's say 5. Wait a minute. Why does this have extra margin actually? Why does this have extra margin here? Is the extra margin on this quote margin top 5? And this also has margin top 5, so I just need to reset this to, for medium screens, I just want margin top to be 0, and then I'm just going to copy this and paste it inside here, so that this also resets to 0, and this goes back to the top. Looking nice, looking amazing. So that once we have this, then we can finally move on into our next section, which should be the grid, right? So this grid and this grid and this, and I can see this has elements of positioning inside. Should be easy enough to do. Okay, so let's see how do we do this. I'm going to create a new component called grid.js, and inside grid.js I'm going to import these two grids. I'm going to grab this grid 1 and grid 2 and copy this, and then inside my assets folder I'm going to paste them inside. Oops, what did I do? Did the wrong thing. I should copy this and then paste them inside here, and actually I should just delete this because I already have grid 1 imported. And then inside grid.js, I'm going to say RAFCE, and I'm going to import two images. The two images, so I'm going to say import grid dash, or rather grid 1 from, it's coming from .assets, and it's called grid-1.jpg, and copy this down, change this to 2, and then change this to 2, so that we would have this. And then inside here, I want to return a fragment, and this fragment is just going to say an h1 that says probably grid, just so that I can see where it renders. And then in order to render it, I need to import it in app.js and just say grid, like that. Let's see, and here it is. So we have grid on the bottom left. So that once we have this, now what I want to do is go back into my grid.js. I can close this. I'm going to go back into grid.js and I'm going to return a section, and this section is going to have a div, and this first div is going to have an image, and the source for this is going to be grid 1. And then I'm going to create another div with another image, and the source for this is going to be grid 2, like so. And we should have this on the screen. So that's looking okay. That's looking okay. But then what I want to do is I want to add some elements of positioning inside this, just like in the design. So let me see how this design looks. It says a starter guide to self-improvement. Okay, so inside grid.js, I'm just going to say below this first image, I'm going to return an h4 that says a starter guide to self-improvement, like that, and it should render right there. Okay, so that's looking okay. And then for this second div, what should I say? I can't really see this text, so I'm just going to say lorem ipsum. Let me turn an h4 that says lorem ipsum, like that. And then I want an icon for this second image to appear here. And actually, this is also a button. This is a button in this first image. So let me fix that. Right below this, I'm going to return a button here that just says click me, for example. Click me. And then below this, I'm going to render, let's see. Let me render, what's the icon for a play button? Let's say React icons. Let's search for play. Let's see what comes up. And I want this fi play circle, so just copy that. And then right inside here, I'm going to say import this from React icons. Remember, we installed React icons /fi, like that. And then below this, I just want to render fi play circle, like that. I didn't mean to import this. Let me remove this. And let's see how this would look. Where is it? Where are you? Okay, there it is. It's right there. So let's begin playing around with CSS positioning. And CSS positioning is basically the reason why people don't like CSS, because it just makes things so much harder, but it's technically easy. So what I want to do is I want to grab this h4 and position it absolutely within this image, and then grab this button and place it to the right. So let's do that. Let's say give this first div a class name of relative, like that. And then inside this h4, I'm going to give this a class name of, let's say, absolute, right? Okay, and then I'm going to say to the top, let's say top of 10, so that it comes up here like that. And then let me deal with the button, and I'm going to give this button a class name of absolute as well. And then I'm going to say right dash 0, so that it goes right there. And then let's say bottom dash 0 should be fine. And there we go. Now this button is styled a bit different, so I'm going to say bg white, right? And I'm going to say padding of the y, or padding on the y of 2, padding on the x of 4, like that. Let's say padding on the x of 6, so that we have this. And then I want to bring this back down, so remove this top of 10, and I'm going to say bottom of 10, so that it goes back right there. Actually, let me say bottom of 20 because it's a bit higher. And then let me change the text color to white, so I'm going to say text white, and increase the font size, so I'm going to say text dash 2XL, so that we have this. That's almost nice. So once we have 2XL, let's see. Once we have 2XL, then I want to say padding on the X to be 5, push it inwards. How would that look? Is that looking almost correct? It's almost correct. We're going to increase the size of this on bigger screens, so this should be fine. And then I've just noticed that probably this button has another icon. So right inside the button, inside this click me, I'm going to say FA arrow right, should be arrow right, right? FA arrow right. Let's make sure to import it. So grab this, and right below this, I'm going to say import FA arrow right from React, from React-icon/FA. And FA arrow right is not exported from React. Wait, what? This should be 1R, should be 1R, like so. So that we would now have this right there. And then in order to fix this, I'm just going to add here flex, right? And I'm going to say items dash center, push it downwards a bit. And then inside here, I'm going to give this a class name of margin on the left of 1, pushed away from the button, let's say 2, from the button text actually. And there we go. So this is looking nice. This should be fine. It's looking amazing. And now let's deal with our lorem ipsum at the bottom. Let me just see how this is structured. So this goes to the top and this remains at the bottom. Okay. So right away, I'm going to do the same thing. First of all, give this div a class name of relative so that we can position items absolute within it. So I'm going to say give this div a class of relative. And then for the h4, I'm going to say give this a class name of absolute and then bring it to the top by 10, not by 10, but by 2. And then bring it to the right by 2 as well. Give it a background of white. Give it a padding on the y of 2 and padding on the x of 6, similar to the button. And let's save that. Let's see how this looks. And we have that. Would you look at that? Looking amazing. And then let's deal with this button. So if I play, so let me give this icon a class name of absolute. Does that work? It doesn't work. Okay, wait, does that work? Let's see. Let's say top of 0. Okay, so it does work. So let me bring it back to the bottom. And I'm going to say bottom of -10, like that. Let's say text dash 4xl. Let's say text white, and then let's bring it to the left by probably, let's say 5. Let's see how this looks. That's too small. Let's say text dash 8xl. Make it even bigger. Let's say 6. No, let's say 7. 7 should be fine, so that we have this play button right there. And then finally, let me add some margin between these two divs. So I'm going to go inside this div and I'm just going to say margin top of 5, pushed away from it, just like that. Would you look at that? And it's looking amazing. It is indeed looking amazing. Now what I want to do next is, let's see what we have for design next. We have this, and actually I should immediately scale this up so that I don't forget. Let's see how this would look on bigger screens. And you can see that it does break just a bit, but we're going to fix it. It breaks just a bit, but we're going to fix it. So right away, let's see, inside this section, I'm going to give this a class name of, for small screens, let's say grid, and then small, let's say grid dash columns dash 2, and then for small, let's say grid gap of 5, so that I can go back inside here and say for small screens, then the margin top should be reset back to 0. So that we have this. Now it's looking even better. And would you look at that? And it breaks just a bit more even on bigger screens, but we can fix that by limiting the width of this this section right here. So I'm going to go inside this section and I'm going to say that for large screens, then I want the max width to be what's the max width? Is it large? No, not large, but 7xl. Let's see. Okay, so that we have this, and then let's say for large screen, let's just say mx auto, so that it centers. And look at that, it's looking amazing. It is indeed looking very amazing. And let's add some padding on the bottom so that we have a bit of leeway in terms of scrolling on the bottom. So I'm going to say padding on the bottom to be 10. Add a bit of scrolling here, and it's looking amazing. All right, now let's deal with our next section, which is know yourself, know your power. I think that's what this says. Know yourself, know your power. So let me create another component inside here, and I'm going to give this let's just say about -2.js. You probably want to name this something a bit better, but you know. So let's say rafce once again, return a fragment, and inside here I'm going to return an h2 that says know yourself, know yourself, know your power, like that. And then at the bottom of this, actually I should have placed this inside a section, so let me do that. Move this upwards, and then on the bottom of this, let me see how this is structured. 1, 2, 3 paragraphs with probably some social media icons at the bottom. So let's say paragraph 1 is going to say lorem 50, and then paragraph 2 is going to say lorem 30, and then paragraph 3 is going to say lorem 10. And then at the bottom, I want to render a UL, and this UL is going to have 3 list items, and these list items are going to be social media icons that we're going to import. So the first one is going to be probably GR Facebook, like that. The second one is going to be GR Twitter, that. And then finally the third one is going to be GR, let's say this is a developer portfolio. It doesn't really matter. Let's say Instagram, like that. And we need to import this from GR. And remember, oh, we can't have this. Let me change this to about 2 instead of -2, and change this at the bottom as well so that we don't confuse JavaScript. And then let's say import GR Facebook, GR Twitter, and GR Instagram from, it's coming from React-icons and from the Gourmet icons library, / and that should work. So let's render this out and let's see if this works. So below this, I'm going to render about 2 like that, and it should be fine. Let's see how this looks. And there we go. So we have know yourself, know your power, and we have some text here, and then we have our social media icons. So let's begin by styling it out for mobile devices first, as usual. And then I'm going to say inside this section, give this a class name of padding on the x of 5, like so. Inside this h2, increase the size of this h2 to around, let's say text-3xl, like that. And then I'm just going to say text center so that it centers it, like that. And then I'm going to say margin bottom of 2. And probably I can add a bit more styling here. Let me see if I can do that. Let me create a div here with a class of bg-blue-900, and then height of 1, height-1, and then width-10, and then mx-auto, like so. So that we have this. Let's increase this width to 20 so that we have this, and then increase the margin bottom here to 5 so that it pushes away from the paragraph. And it's looking amazing. That's looking nice actually. And then let me go inside the paragraphs, and actually probably this is one div. I should have placed the paragraphs inside a separate div. So let me grab all of them, place them inside a div like that, so that I can now go inside this parent div and I can just say display grid on them with the grid template columns to be 1, and add a grid gap of 5 on each one of them so that they separate out, like so. Okay, and then is this text center? This is text center, so let's also make this text center. I'm going to say text center, like that. And then now let's deal with our UL. So this UL inside here, I'm going to give this a class name of flex items-center and justify-center dash center, like that. And actually, wait a minute, let me see how this design looks. This is within this, right? These icons are within this section. So probably what I want to do is grab this UL and then move it upwards. So inside here, let's see how this looks. I've just moved it upwards, right? Okay, that's looking nice. And then inside this list item, I'm going to grab these 3, give this a class name of mx of, let's say 5, like that. Let's increase the size. Let's say text-4xl, make them bigger. Oops, too big. Too big, let's say 2xl. Okay. And once we say 2xl, what is remaining? Nothing is remaining really, except to scale it up. So let's do that. Let's do that. And how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? I'm going to go inside this div, and I'm going to say that for medium screens, then I want text to go back to the left, like that. And then once we do this, then let's say that for medium screens, then I want the width to be 96, so that it goes like this, rather than 96, let's say 2/3. 2/3 is too big. Let's say, what is 75%? 3/4. No, that's too big. Why is this too big? We can work with 2/3. Let's say 2/3. We can work with 2/3, so that I'm going to grab this and then position it to the right, right? I say that, but I'm not really sure how good to. Okay, so for margin, for medium screens, let me say the margin on the left should be auto. I think that should position it to the right. And there we go. And then instead of saying text right, actually this should be fine. This should be fine. And instead of having margin or width of 2/3, let's just work with 96 because that's the highest I can go without all of this breaking. This is annoying because then I also want this to go to the right, and I can do that by just simply copying this, right? I can just copy this and then going inside. Let me cut this out from here and then let me add it inside here, inside my main section, so that we have this. Okay, and then let me increase this width to 2/3, or rather half. Let's say half, and half should be fine. And then let's just limit the width of this so that this moves inwards just a bit. And I'm going to say, where is it? Inside my section, right? And I'm going to say inside my section that for large screens, I want the margin on the max width to be 7XL. Max width 7XL. Is this the correct class? Let me just confirm what I had on the grid. Max width 7XL. Okay. And then for large, let's say MX auto, which is going to break a bit. Yep, I knew it. So let's say margin left auto. It goes back to the I don't want that to happen. So instead of having this, let me say max width, let me add a padding on the right of 20, of 32. Let's say of 40. 40 should be fine. So that we have this, and it's looking amazing. Now all we need to do is just center this back to the left. So I'm going to go inside my UL, inside here, and I'm going to say that for this UL, then let's have, for medium screens, let's say justify to the start, like so. And it is looking amazing, if I do say so myself. And let's add some padding on the bottom, some padding on the bottom of this section. So let me go inside this section, right? And I'm going to say padding on the bottom of 10, so that we have this. And then I've just noticed that I need this to go back to the left on medium screens at above. So let me fix that by going here and saying medium, I want text dash left. And then I also want this underline. Oops, I mean to save that. I also want this underline. I wanted to save this. I wanted to grab this underline and place it to the left as well. So I'm going to say inside here, and once for medium screens, I want the margin on the X to be, is it 0? Not all, but 0. There we go. And it's looking nice. Okay, so once we do this, then I want to go, and what is the next grid that we like? We will want to create this grid section, which is basically our articles. So for this, I'm going to create a data array. And inside VS Code, I'm going to create inside my source folder, sorry, I'm going to create a new folder called data. And inside this data, I'm going to create, let's say, a new file called articles.js. Remember, this is a small a because it's not a component. And inside here, I'm going to say import version 4, import v4 as uuid v4. And I'm going to be importing this from uuid. Right? Remember, we installed UUID when we were beginning. Actually, when you clone the repository, UUID is already there, so that when you run npm install, then it's going to install UUID for you. So inside these articles, I just want to say export const, export const articles. So I'm exporting it as a named export, and this is going to be equal to an array of objects, and the first one is going to be id uuid v4. And then for the title for this, I'm just going to say lorem ipsum, right? And then the description for this is just going to say lorem ipsum once again. So lorem ipsum dolor sit amet consecutor adipsing lit, just simple. And then I'm going to have an image for this image, and this is going to be coming from /assets, and it's, even though it's / here, remember it's coming from our public folder, and these are going to be the articles that we're going to get, the images, sorry. This is coming from /assets, and it's called article-1.jpg, like so. And then I'm just going to grab all of this, and I'm just going to copy it 3 more times. So copy and then paste 1, 2, 3, and change this to article 2, change this to article 3, and change this to article 4. And that's basically what we're going to do for our data array. And then I'm going to create a new component. I'm going to close this public folder, and then I'm going to create a new component in my components folder, and I'm just going to call it articles.js, like that. And I'm going to say array_fce, return a fragment once again. And remember that now we are dealing with local data. I'm going to need some kind of state where I can store it in. So I'm going to import use state, but I'm not going to import it at the top. I'm just going to use it right away, where I'm going to say const, let's say items, and set items is going to be equal to what? To react.useState, and it's going to be using the data array that I just created called articles. And you can see it gives me the option to auto import it, and it's imported as a named import. That's why it's in curly brackets, and it's called articles. And then inside here I'm going to return a section, and this section I'm going to get my articles, and I'm going to map over them, and then I'm going to just destructure the data that I want. So I'm going to say items.map, and then for every item I want to place my arrow function, and then I'm going to destructure it. I'm going to get the ID. I know it has the ID, the title, the description, and it has the image as well. And this is going to be coming from my item variable. And then I'm going to return here, and I'm going to be returning, let's say, return an article element with the key of this going to be the ID. And then inside here, I want to render an h4 that says the article. Oops, not the article, but the title. And then below this, I want to return a paragraph, not brackets, paragraph that says the description, like that. And then at the top of this, I want to return an image, and the source for this is going to be the image, right? But then I've just realized that I want the image to appear on the left, and then the h4 and the paragraph to appear on the right. Okay, so let me do that by grabbing this and placing it inside a div, like so, that we have that. And then just to render out everything, I'm going to go into app.js, and I'm going to render it below this, and it's called articles, and it gives me the option to auto import it, as you can see, and it's imported right there. And let me just restructure this a bit. This should be at the top, and then oops, and then the header follows, and then the grid follows. Sorry, yeah, the grid follows, and it should be fine. So let's see what we have right here. Is that correct? And there we go. So we have our image right there. We have another image, and another image. So let's check out how we can deal with all of this. Oops, really? Let's see how we can deal with all of this. Place this back to the side, and then I'm going to go inside my articles component right inside here. And inside my articles component, let's see, I'm going to add a line here, a comment here called ESLint dash disable dash next dash line, so that this doesn't cause an error in production. And it's going to be fixing, what is that the error? It's going to be fixing this warning. Now in development, this is the warning, but in production it becomes an error, and it causes bugs in code. And most servers actually won't deploy your project if it has warnings in it. So notice that once I add this and then I save, then this error should disappear. The warning should disappear, sorry. Okay, and then once I do that, then I'm going to go inside the section, and I'm going to give this section a class name of grid, and grid dash calls dash 2, not dash 2 but 1, like that. And then I'm going to say add a grid gap of 5, and then add some padding on the X of 5 as well. And then I'm going to go inside this image, and I'm going to give this image a class name of width dash, let's say 40. Okay, and then I'm going to go inside this article and give this a class name of flex, so that we have this. And let's reduce this to probably 32, like so. And then let me add a rounded border on the image, so rounded large, so that it's a bit rounded. And then on the article, I'm going to give this a BG of blue dash 300, just to make it a bit darker from what we have in our as our background color. And notice how this has sharp edges, so we can fix that by going inside the article and just saying rounded dash large as well, so that it's now rounded all of it. But then again, I don't want the rounded border to be on the top right and the bottom right of the image, so I can just say rounded on the what is the class, rounded dash left dash large, like that, so that now the image is only rounded on the left part of it. And then now let's style this a bit further inside this div. Let me go inside this div, give this a class name of margin left of 2, push it away from the image. And probably I can go inside here and just say items dash center, which will push this down like so. And probably this is almost nice, but let me go inside the h4 and give this a class name of margin bottom of 2, so that we have this. Okay, that's looking nice, that's looking nice. But then again, let me add a padding on the bottom, so that we have a bit of leeway inside here, and I'm going to say padding bottom of 10, so that we are able to scroll just a bit. And then let's see what else can I do just to improve this UI. Probably nothing much. Let me reduce this to blue dash 200. This is a bit dark for me. Okay, so that we have that, so that's looking nice. And then what I want to do is just scale it up by changing the number of grid columns that I have. And right inside this section, I'm going to go inside and I'm going to say that for small screens, I want the grid columns, grid dash columns to be 2, like that. And then for large screens, then I want the grid dash columns to be 4, like so. And then let me just go and reduce the size of the image inside here, and I'm going to say that for large screens, then I want the width to be 20. Reduce it just a bit, so that we have that. And is that a good idea? I think it is. I think it is. And then let me just limit it. Remember, we are having a max width of 7XL all round for everything. So let me just limit this and say that on the section for large screens, I want the max width to be 7XL, like so. And then just to send it, I'm just going to add an MX of auto, like that, so that it centers. So that's looking amazing. But let me add a heading on the top, and just say this is called like how do you say, news articles, for example. Let me add a div inside here with an h2 that says news articles, like that. And then I want to text center on this, and I'm going to say text dash class name of text dash center, and then text dash 3XL, like that. And then I'm going to say margin bottom of 2. And then let me add some padding on the top. Actually, let me go inside this div, give this a class name equals to padding top of, let's say 5, pushed away just a bit from this. And then I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to copy this and paste it inside here. So in my about, where's my about 2, in my about 2, I just want to copy this and then paste it inside my articles right below this. But then I want to remove this because I don't want I don't want it to reset to the left on medium screens. That we have this, and would you look at that? It's looking amazing. It's actually looking amazing. Okay, now one thing that I can do is I can increase the size of this heading and then reduce the size of this paragraph. So let me do that, and I'm going to say that increase this to text XL, and then go inside the paragraph, give this a class name of text dash small, like that. I think that's much better. I actually do think that's much better. Probably I can increase the height of this so that they're just a bit bigger. Let me see if I can do that by adding a padding on the Y of 10. Yep, I expected this to happen. I expected this to happen. Let's go inside the image. Let me make this to be specifically for large screens actually, so that it doesn't affect everything that we have on smaller screens. Let's see. Yep. Okay. So for large screens, then I want to play around with this image a bit more. Let's see. Let's see. How we do this. Let's go inside the image. Where's my image? Right inside here. And I'm going to say probably width. Actually, let's say width dash 20. And for large screens, let's say height dash full. Is that the class for it? Is that the class for it? What's the Tailwind class to add height to 100%? Let's check it out. Let's check it out. And let's say h dash full. Oops. Okay, h full, height 100%. Or rather, let's say h dash full, and let's say max h dash full. Let's see. Nothing responds. I admire how hardworking you are. It inspires me. I'm glad I inspire you. I am glad that I do inspire you. Okay, so once we do that, actually, you know what? Let me not stress myself out with this. Let me remove this, and let me remove this padding Y because this is annoying. It's annoying. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And then finally, we have our footer, and the footer should be easy enough to create because I can just right away create a footer component. Where's my footer component? Create a new file here called footer.js. And in footer.js, what do we have on the footer? What do we have on the footer? We have social media icons. We have my talent logo. This is probably like copyright and all rights reserved. And probably this says something like follow us. That's just my imagination. Let's say RAFCE inside my footer component, return a fragment inside here, and then return a footer element. And then for this footer element, I'm going to return a div. And this div is going to say an h2 called my talent, like that, which would be the logo. And then let me see, how is this structured? So let's see. This is this and this. I can set this to be one grid and then this to be another grid. But I want this and this to be flex items so that I can justify content to space between on bigger screens so that they go end to end, and then do the same for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the footer.js and probably add a paragraph below this where I'm going to say follow us on social media, right? And then below this, I'm going to have another div. And this div is going to have a paragraph that says all rights reserved. And let's add a copyright symbol. Let's say and copy, like that. If you're on Windows, you can say Control Alt and C, and it will insert a copyright symbol for you. So I'm going to say copyright my talent 2021, all rights reserved, like that. And then below this paragraph, I'm going to have a UL with the list items. Let's say 3 list items. And all of these are going to be showing some social media icons. So the first one is going to be GR Facebook, just like the ones that we rendered up top. So GR Facebook, remember, it gives me the option to auto import it, so that's why this is also imported at the top. And the second one is going to be GR, let's say Twitter, like that. And then the third one is going to say GR and Instagram. Probably I can add a fourth one just to make it different from the one that we have above, and I'm going to say GR Pinterest, or whatever way you pronounce this, Pinterest or Pinterest or whatever. And let's just render our footer component by going into our app.js and rendering our footer component by saying footer, not a small f but a capital F. Like that gives me the option to auto import it, and we have the footer. Instagram is not, where's my footer? Instagram is not really Instagram, and then Pinterest, like so. Has already been declared. Oops, so no need for that. And reload this to get rid of this error. And let's see how this looks, so that we have this on the bottom. Now for small screens this looks okay, so I'm not going to deal with this much on smaller screens, but let me just show you how this would look. And it says it does this, so let me go inside the footer, give this a class name of padding on the x of 5, okay, and then go inside this div and give this a class name of, let's say, margin bottom of 5, margin bottom 5, okay, yeah, that is correct, that is correct. And then go inside this ul and give this a class name of flex, like that. And then target each of these list items by holding down the alt key and clicking them, like so, and give this a class name of margin x of 2. Separate them out a bit, and then increase the size by saying text, let's say 2xl. Oops, what did I do? Text 2xl, like that. Increase the size just like that. Okay, that's looking nice. Now for smaller screens, let me just increase the margin on the top of the UL. So I'm going to say margin top of 2. Okay, so it increases the margin on the top of the UL. And then let me increase the size of this, and then increase the margin on the bottom of this. So I'm going to go inside my h2, give this a class name of text-4xl and margin bottom of 2. Increase the size of it, and I increase the margin on the bottom of this. And then let's say what can we say? I probably want this to appear first before the copyright, right? So let me go inside this div, give this a class name of flex, and flex, is it flex call dash reverse? Let's see that. Okay, there we go. So flex call reverse is the class, so that I can remove this, and I can say margin bottom of 2. Okay, so that we have this. And now what do we want to do? I want to scale this up for bigger screens, right? So that, actually, let me increase some padding on the footer. This padding is too, the footer is too small for me. Let me say padding y20. Let's save this. Okay, so padding y20, and then let me increase the margin on the bottom of this. So let me increase the margin on the bottom of this to 10, pushed away further from this, and that's looking much better. Okay, so let's begin to scale it up, and I'm going to go inside the footer element, and sorry, inside this first div, and I'm going to say that for medium screens, then I want this to display as a flex item, as a flex box, sorry, and then it displays like that. And I'm going to say for medium screens, I want items dash center, push it downwards, right? And then for medium screens, I want justify to between, so that it pushes all the way to the end. Looking amazing, looking very, very amazing. And then I want to do the same for this. Instead, I want to change this flex column to reverse to flex column. And I'm going to say to flex row, sorry. So I want to say that for small screens, where's my, okay. For small screens, where is it? Right inside here. I'm going to say that for small screens, I want the flex to be row, so that we have that looking nice. And then once, not for small screens, but for medium screens, I was using medium screens here just to maintain uniformity. And I'm going to say that for medium screens, I want to justify content to between, like so. And it's looking amazing. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? It's looking very nice. I'm actually smiling right now. Okay, so this is our footer. and I want to limit it once again so that it's more to the center and it maintains the same spacing on the left and right, as you can see. So I'm going to say that for the footer, right inside here, I'm going to say that for large screens, I want the max width, max W to be 7XL, like that. We should place it to the left, as you can see. Now, in order to center it, we just need to add MX Auto. So for large screens, I'm going to say MX Auto once again, and it should go back to the center. Would you look at that? It's looking amazing. It's looking very, very amazing. So now we have this. We created this section that I think looks very nice. And I've actually gotten a few design ideas from this section right here. And then we have this that has a simple quote here. And then we have this on the left, basically some lorem ipsum. We have an image here. I probably could have used a better image. And then we have this typewriter effect, as you can see. This typewriter effect looks very nice. And let me just increase the size of this to be much bigger. Let me go back inside my showcase, and I'm going to be targeting, where is it? Inside here. And I'm going to scale this up, and I'm going to say that for large screens, I want the text to be 6XL, or rather 7XL. Much bigger. Would you look at that? It's looking amazing. It is indeed looking very amazing. Now, one thing that I've just noticed is that this is not responsive. This entire section is not responsive, and the header as well is not looking very nice for me. Okay, so what I want to do is, let me just limit this a bit. Let me go inside this paragraph. So this is my paragraph, right? I'm going to give this a class name of, for MD, let's say width dash 2/3, 2/3, and then for MD, let's say MX dash auto. So that we have this going to the center. 2/3 is too big. Let's say a half. Actually, wait a minute. 2/3 is good enough for tablets. So let me scale it up and say for large screens, then I want, this should be width dash 2/3. And then here I'm going to say width dash a half, so that we have this. Okay, that's looking much better. And probably this is a long description. Okay. You know what I want to happen? What I want to happen is I want this and this section to be one grid, to be two grid columns. Okay, so how are we going to do that? This is one div, it begins here, and then this is another div that begins here, and then this section goes all the way here. So I want this to be outside the section, right? Yes, I do want that to be outside the section, so that I can go inside this and add a padding bottom of 20, push it away from this text a bit, like that. And then I can now target this, and actually let me move this, the width that I've placed on this paragraph first of all, so that it doesn't confuse me and it doesn't mess up everything. Where is it? Right here. I'm just going to cut this out so that it remains on my clipboard. And then I'm going to go inside the section, and I'm going to give it a class name. For large screens, I'm going to say display flex. Let's see how this looks. So that we have this, right? And I'm going to say, for large screens, I want items dash center. Okay. And then for large screens, let's say justify to the center. Flex probably isn't a good idea, so let me use grid. Let me change this to grid, like that, and change this to grid columns, so grid dash columns dash 2, right? And then remove this. Let's see how this looks. Okay, that's more of a fair deal. And then let's say for large screens, I want the max width to be 7XL once again. Okay, and then I'm going to say that for large screens, I want the margin X to be auto, so that it centers. Is that correct? Is that correct? This is the first div. Let me remove this. Okay, you know what? you know what, let me go inside here and then say, where did I start? For large screens, I want items to be start. Okay, like that. And then for large screens, I want justify to go back to the start as well instead of center, so that this goes here. But then what is happening here? Let me inspect this. Let me inspect this, increase this. What is happening here? I don't understand what is happening here. So this is a grid. So this is a grid. Interesting. So this is a grid and this is a grid. Okay. Okay. Probably this is not really the best design. So you know what? Let me use Flexbox here. Let me go back to Flexbox, large flex, so that we have this. Okay. And then let me reduce the size of this H1 so that it doesn't keep on going to the next line. And I'm going to target where's the H1? Where's the H1? Inside here, let me reduce it to 6 so that this happens. And I want to go inside this div, right? Inside this div, and I want to limit this div entirely, where I'm going to say, I'm going to give this div a class of width dash 2/3, so 2/3. Oops, shouldn't have done that one. I should have placed large in front of it so that it's a media query, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to say for large screens, once again, I want the MX to be auto, like so. Okay, looking very nice, or rather almost very nice. Now, the only thing that I want to do is now text align this to the left. So I'm going to go inside this right here and I'm going to say for large screens, then I want text left, like that. So that's text left. And then probably I should have a line break inside here, a line break, so that this doesn't erase all the way to here. Let me see how this looks. Let's see how this looks. There we go. Okay, so that is always on this line. So that's looking amazing. And then I want this to align back to the left and this to the left as well. So let's see, where did I place text center here? Actually, wait a minute. Did I place text center on everything? I placed it here. Okay, that's still fine. That's still fine. So let me go inside this paragraph and I'm going to say that for large screens, I want the text to go back to the left. We should take it back to the left like that. And then do the same thing for my next paragraph. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it inside here. And this text line to the left. Looking very nice and it's looking amazing. Now, the only thing that I want to do is increase the margin between, like increase the size of this showcase. So let's do that. Let's do that by going inside here and saying that for large screens, I want the padding on the Y to be 32. Push it downwards like that. Looking very nice. And then finally, we need to just deal with our header. And let me go into my header component. Where's my header? Inside here, and I'm going to say that for large screens, I want what's the class for space around? Is it justify around? For justify content space around? Okay, there it is. That's the class. But instead of around, let's say evenly. No. That's bad. That's bad. Let's just add a max width here of 7XL. Max width of 7XL. And then for large screens, once again, we need to center it by saying MX auto. Like so. So that's looking much better. And then let's increase the size of this first of the My Talent logo. So give this a class name of large screens. Actually, let me just say text-2XL. Increase it like so. And then say for large screens, let's say text-4XL. Is it? 4XL should be fine. And then let's also increase the size of this, right? Increase the size of this. Should I? I think I should. Let me go inside this href, give this a class name of text-XL for large screens. Let me specify for large screens. it increases like that, and then just grab all of this and paste it inside my icon. Increase the size like that, and then increase the margin here. For large screens, I'm going to increase the margin on the X to 5 so that this separates it out even more. And this is looking very, very nice. It is actually looking very amazing. There are a bit of things that you can iron out, such as the margin here between this this paragraph and this text. So let me do that. Let me go back into my showcase and let me target where is my author. Where is it? This is the author. So it's below this right here. Margin bottom, margin top rather. Let me say margin top of 5. Push it away even further. So that's looking much better. This is looking much better actually, and this is also looking very, very nice. Probably I could have used another image here, but I could have used another image. Now, one thing that I did want to do is I wanted this header to be fixed so that it scrolls along with us, right? I wanted this header to be fixed. So let me see if I can do that. Inside the header, I set it to sticky. Let me return it back to fixed. Let's say with, oh wait a minute, is it not with full? Let's say mx auto. Wait a minute. Is it because of this? Is it because of this? I think it is. Let me remove that. It goes end to end, and then let's say justify to around. Let's just say justify around, that it goes like that. And actually I should say this is for large screen specifically. So justify around so that we have this so that it scrolls along with us. And then obviously I want this to have a kind of background color when we scroll. So let me add a bg of let's say bg dash blue dash 100, which is basically the same as a background color. But as you can see, now that we scroll, it appears to be above all the other text. So that's looking very nice. And notice that I added an ID on our showcase so that when I click this, it goes back to the showcase. And just to show you what I mean, this is not what I wanted. I want this to have a larger z index. So let me say z index of 50, so that it's always on top, like right there. So that when I click this, it will go back to the top using a smooth scrolling effect, courtesy of one line of CSS called scroll behavior, which is set to smooth. Looking very nice. And actually, I think that will be the end of the project really, because there's nothing really much that I'm going to be doing after this. And I really think this actually looks very nice. The only bother that I have is this image. Can I change this image? Do I have a better image? No, I don't think I have a better image. These are all squares. I don't have a better image. Let me go to pixels. Let's look for cool images. Let's see. We could use this one. Let me just copy image address inside here. And then actually, no, let me just download it. Save image as, and I'm going to be saving it inside here, inside my public folder, inside my assets folder. And I'm going to call it showcase, really. I'm going to call it showcase, come on, showcase.jpg, like that. Close this down. And then I just need to change the import in my showcase because this is a JPG file. I just need to make it into JPEG, like that. And once this reloads, then sorry, can't resolve what in okay, this shouldn't be here. I need to copy this out and I need to paste it inside this assets folder, inside my source folder, like so, and that should fix it. And there we go. I think it's not so stretched out. I think this would be a much better image, really. This would be a much better image. But overall, I think this looks amazing. As you can see, we have lorem ipsum right here. This, which is positioned absolute, so we added a bit of absolute positioning for this project. This is also positioned absolute within this, but this is not an image. Remember, sorry, this is not a video. And then this is the button that is also positioned absolute within this image. And would you look at that? Look at this layout. This layout looks amazing. I actually do say so. This layout looks amazing. So the last thing that I want to do is I want to deploy this website, right? I want to deploy this website so that we can actually see it on the modern web. So I'm going to close all of this, close all of this, and close all of these files actually. Come on, close all of these files. Close this, close this, close this, and close this. Let's check if we have any errors. We do not have any errors, so I can stop my server. And then I'm just going to say git add all, and I'm going to say git commit -m, and I'm going to say complete project like that. And I'm going to say git push, which will push it to my GitHub repo, right? And you can find this complete project on GitHub as well, and I'm going to leave a link in the description. And actually, if you type !project, then it should give you a link to the GitHub repository. And you can see this is 14 seconds ago. So I'm going to go to Netlify, where I'm going to deploy this website. So I'm going to log into Netlify. And then once I log into Netlify, we can select our what site we want to deploy. So I'm going to deploying it from GitHub. Just let it authenticate my talent portfolio website. There you go. And there you go. So the build command is npm run build, which Netlify is going to run for us. And then the publish directory is the build directory. So let me just deploy site. And this is going to deploy for a moment. Let me change the name of the site here. And I'm going to change this to my talent portfolio website, like that. And then I'm just going to let it deploy by going into the deploys, just opening this up. Let's see, and there you go. So it's finished. Let's preview, and look at that, the exact website which we built is now available on the internet, on the World Wide Web, looking amazing. I'm so proud of this, really. I'm so proud of this because it actually looks so nice. It looks so nice. Okay, so I think that would be the end of this project.